Okay, awesome. Well, welcome everybody to our June event, 2021. We're really excited about today's topic, setting up a blog. We have a professional blogger here and professional blog company owner, I should say as well, Anya. So we're super excited to have her join us today, and I'll go around the room and let everyone kind of introduce themselves. We'll start with you, Kristen.
All right, thank you. My name is Kristen Hossman, and I am founder of Mount Evans Consulting, based out of Denver, and my focus is Business Central, but I do have a personal blog as well, so we'll get into that in a little bit. Mary, how about we jump to you next?
Yep, Mary Thompson. I work with partner development at Bam Boom Cloud. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP along with Shannon and Kristen. And I too have a personal blog that I represent. So excited to hear some tips and advice from Anya today. Shannon?
Awesome, and Anya.
Oh, sorry, Anya, there we go.
My next?
Yes, my
name is Anya Ciecierski, hard name. I've actually been working in the Dynamics channel since 1999 at VARs companies, and in 2009, while I was still at a VAR as a director of marketing, I started the ERP software blog and the CRM software blog. So as a director of marketing, I was in charge of blogging at that VAR, and now I help about 150 ISV and VAR partners with blogging. So it's kind of suffice to say blogging is my thing. So I'm happy to be here.
Yay, we're very excited to have you. And I'm Shannon Mullins. I'm also a Microsoft MVP. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Arbela. I work in the Dynamics and Power Platform space. I do have a blog. I'm really bad at updating it lately, so don't go check it out till I do some updates. But yeah, we're all super excited. We thought this topic was really important because especially for me, because I've been mentoring other women and different people in the channel to become an MVP. And one of those things that you must do is have a blog. And I think when I was becoming an MVP, it was like the most overwhelming piece of that was just like, holy cow, I've got to start a blog. That sounds super complicated. So we thought this session would be really good to get people together and talk about blogging, talk about the difficulties of it. Hopefully Anya can share some helpful tips for all of us on, getting started in that area. So we're super excited for this particular topic. So I thought it'd be good to go around the room and just talk to our MVPs about why a blog is so important. Why is it important in becoming an MVP or creating a social presence? Why do you have to have a blog? So Kristen, I'll let you start off with this piece of the discussion.
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, first off, let's just say that it may not be one of those mandatory things that you need to check off in order to be an MVP, but it definitely doesn't hurt, right? So when I started the journey of blogging on my personal blog, I really started to do it just to kind of have a place to go where I have my processes documented, and then if clients were asking, how do I do this? I can just send them a link to that, and then they have access to that right away. When I got nominated to be MVP, it did help me personally just because I could show that I was helping the community by blogging, aside from speaking at conferences. And then, kind of piggybacking off of that, when I started blogging, it was really hard for me to know what to blog about. So what I did is I started a list of different things that clients were asking me. And I started a list also of like support items that kept coming in, different things like that. And I just used that as a guide in order to blog on, so that I always have topics readily available for me to blog on. But that's kind of what I use my blog for. And I think, Mary, you have a personal blog as well. If you want to talk a little bit about why it's important for you as well.
Yeah, so again, I think that, like you said, it's not necessarily that it's a mandatory part, to be an MVP is to have a blog, but you know, part of what it is sharing that you have contributions, right? That you are out there helping. And so having a blog, right, is a very easy, tangible way to show that and kind of show your contribution and how much reach you have and all of that stuff, right? So it's an easy in. And I had actually started a blog, you know, obviously also as well before I was an MVP, and just because I saw people were doing it, and I wanted to be able to provide some content as well. And I think for me, one of the biggest challenges in getting started was just in fact getting started, right? Like, where do I go? What website? What is this format? Oh my gosh, this is so ugly. I can't put this out here. I can't be a blog, and right. And so then we go into like this deep vicious cycle, which is probably why so many of us struggle kind of in that area. So, you know, in my blog, another thing is I cover kind of different topics as well. So I started off in finance and operations. So that's what my original blogs were on, right? And then I made the transition to Business Central. So then I made a few blogs. I've got a few blogs on there as well. And then I also do a lot of, I guess, community work or Humans of IT work as well. So some of my blogs kind of highlight that as well, right? So from that social media presence, I'm just trying to share with people like what I'm about, what I like. So I guess that's a little bit about my blog experience. And I think one thing that I would say while we're talking about regular blogs today, I think that it's important to know kind of maybe what medium fits you as well. Sometimes you're a writer, sometimes maybe you can do a video blog, right? A vlog. And so it's kind of important to understand too. I think that that's where what I've noticed is I think it's easier for me to get a video put together than it is a document, because then I'm analyzing my spelling, my grammar, my format, right? Where I'm like, man, give me a video screen. I'm more comfortable there. So just things to think about. What about you, Shannon?
Yeah, that's a great point, Mary. And it is, I'm just such a detailed person and I'm kind of OCD. So writing a blog to me is like, it's probably way more work than it has to be, because I want it to kind of be perfect. And so I feel like until I get that perfect idea and that perfect, you know, screenshots and all the backup, I won't typically do one. So I'm hoping, like Kristen said, Anya can have some tips for us today. But it is pretty important if you're going to have a social media presence or an MVP. I know Steve Endo has a whole list in the BC channel of all the people who are blogging. He keeps that list. You can go to all the different bloggers. But most MVPs or most people in the Microsoft space or technology space typically have a blog just to, like Mary and Kristen were saying, get your ideas out. And from Microsoft's perspective, it's like that's your way to share things without being part of an organization or another company. So that's kind of why it's important. You know, it's not necessary, but it's going to definitely help if you're looking to, you know, apply as an MVP. Okay, our next question. Let's see if I can get this PowerPoint to behave. Here. Ooh. I'm trouble with my mouses. What are the greatest challenges in blogging? And I'll kick this one off. I think I briefly mentioned it. Time for me is the greatest challenge. So I have a million good ideas, and like if I could just take those ideas and download them to someone else and they could just do it for me, that'd be fantastic because I just don't have time. I'm a mom, I'm obviously a partner now, I'm doing a lot of different things. And so it's like just sitting down and writing is the hardest part for me, and getting those screenshots. Even if it's a video, I'm super, super OCD about it. So that's my biggest challenge. What about you, Mary?
Yeah, I think that the time around it, right, is the number one challenge. But like I said, for me, I'm a little bit easier to go with the video, only because I can edit. I can edit a video a lot quicker than I can go through the blog. So I've kind of gotten through that. So I think some of my challenges are consistency. right? Like I do know the tricks, like as far as like create the list, like, you know, Kristen talked about. And then, you know, I've also learned the other tricks of do it like a Netflix series, right? Like do like a series. And so if you look at my blog, there's a finance, like one that I do around like chart of accounts. And, you know, I start with the GLs and then I, you know, deep down in there. So I know how to get there, but just consistently doing it, you know, it's like I start for a little bit and then I fall off the wagon and then it's like, oh, now the intimidation of getting back on. So I think that that's my challenge.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anya, how do we solve these challenges in blogging? And I'm sure you hear this from a lot of people who are trying to submit blogs to you. How do we solve those challenges?
Yeah, I do hear these challenges, but you know, the really awesome thing about this group in particular is that you have so much knowledge. There's so much to write about, because a lot of times I hear that from people too. I don't have anything to write about. So that actually doesn't seem to be the issue as much in this group. But I think, you know, one thing I said when I was promoting this session is that the right time to start a blog is really before you want it, before you to try to build your own brand and get yourself out there. It's so much easier to do it when you're not under pressure to make money from that blog, to get a new job because of that blog, but just to start it out as something that's for you, to build your name, get it out there. It relieves the pressure a lot. So a few of the ideas that I would say for not having enough time. One thing that works really well for me is to record the subject matter experts. So I'll assume that all of you, as the technical MVP gals that you are, you're all the subject matter experts, the billable consultants, right? So I know that as a marketing person, I would never get a billable consultant to write me a blog post, but they can talk and tell me the answers. So if I said, tell me 5 questions that a customer asks you during every upgrade. Tell me why Dynamics BC commission calculation is better than NetSuite, whatever it may be. And those, again, are a little bit more on the marketing angle, maybe than the more technical posts that you guys might do. But in any case, asking those questions, and then I'll actually walk up to the person or call the person and record them speaking the answer, just stream of consciousness. But you can do that yourself as well. So you're riding in the car, you know, you're waiting for something, you block out, okay, 10 minutes, I'm just going to record the answer to this question. And then I use a service called rev.com, which is a transcription service. And that actually, in a couple hours, I'll get a Word document back with that transcription. And then it's much easier to craft that into a blog post, or even to hire an inexpensive writer, maybe to craft that into a post for you. You know, and I think that's kind of a question is, if you're doing this on the side and you want it to be free, that's one way to go. But if you look at it as, okay, this is a tool to build my business, to build my career, then it could be something that you want to put a little bit of money behind. And by that, I mean, you could actually hire somebody to design your blog for you, to get it looking nice, you know, that you're confident you don't have to spend all that time, like Kristen said, or Mary said, how do I even, which website do I go to? But the same can be true for the actual, like the publishing part. You know, you can hire someone inexpensive on Fiverr or Upwork and say, here's my ideas. Here's a couple screenshots. You put it on the blog, make it look pretty, put lots of tags on it, things like that. So, you know, if you maybe put a budget aside, you could potentially hire some admin help. And that might actually keep you on a schedule as well, because, you know, they might be telling you, hey, we don't have anything out this month, for example. You know, a few other things.
That's great.
Go ahead. I can just talk about blogging for hours, so you just have to at me and ask questions.
Well, I think that's great. Like hire it out, which is kind of cool, because, you know, I think I can talk and talk. Everyone knows that. So I could talk to my phone and tell it what I want to say. Having someone else do it, that's actually kind of nice. You know, if I can afford that, I'll have to look that up. But it's kind of a nice thing, because I have, like I said, I have all the ideas. I just don't have the time to write them.
Absolutely.
So that's really good. That's a really good.
Absolutely. And if you can get it out, if you find somebody like on Fiverr, if you haven't used Fiverr, it's awesome because people do all kinds of things starting at $5. And if you just go through a few people and you'll find one that's really a gem, you know, and that's someone that you can maybe form a more longer term relationship with. They get to know you, they get to know the products, names, you know, they don't call it PC instead of BC and whatever it may be, but that can save you a lot of time, you know, because there's all kinds of free websites out there where you can set up your blog. But like, I think it was Kristen that said, you know, you want it to look nice, you want it to look professional. And if you're a person with a type A personality, you're like, well, I don't want to put anything out there that doesn't look polished. And so I think, you know, getting someone to set that up for you even initially is good. This is absolutely not a shameless plug because I'm not affiliated with this woman, but I work with a graphic designer right now who's really awesome. And I just she made a little offer up just for women MVPs. So it's definitely something you could do for free, but if you want someone to actually set up the blog for you and make it look awesome, you know, it might be worth looking at a graphic designer.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that does help kind of transition into how to get started, right? This was the hardest part for me. I do have a little 1-pager, 2-pager I can share with everyone too that Steve Endo helped me with. Because I was like, I don't want to pay a lot for my blog and I just want to get started. So he kind of set up, you know, a Namecheap, using Namecheap, a way to kind of get started in the blog space, which is not the most professional looking, I think, because it uses WordPress, but you know, getting started, I think, is 9/10 of the problem. So give us your tips, Anya. If you're joining this because you want to start a blog and you don't even know where to start, where would you tell people to go for resources?
So, like I said, if you want to put a little bit of money behind it and start out with something you're really confident with, then, you know, I like this graphic designer that I put in the chat. If you want to go the free route, which you can always do and then upgrade later, right? If this becomes something that you know, you become like Belinda Allen, who is like known for her blog, you can make it look fancier. So the two biggest ones out there would probably be Blogger and WordPress. And there are 2 versions of WordPress, WordPress.org and WordPress.com. So the free version is easier. The WordPress.com, you have to get hosted and set up a theme, and that's like a whole thing. So you could also try Wix.com, which is a pretty easy way. Wix or Squarespace are pretty easy sites where they will kind of build the whole thing for you. It's got the domain name, it's got the hosting, kind of everything all built in. So it's a little bit of just a question of how much time and money you want to invest in the beginning, or if you just want free, boom, simple. But, you know, keep in mind that you want to lay a good foundation, right? So I think Belinda said in one of these calls earlier is give some real thought to your name, right? Is it a name of your blog that's going to last? You know, maybe it's not a good idea to put product names in your blog URL because we know that Microsoft changes their product names all the time. So, you know, maybe it's better to do something like your own personal name, but make it something that's easy to spell, easy to remember, you know, short, simple. You know, I'm sure all of you know how to go out there and look for domain names and see what's available and what you can kind of tweak around. But, you know, you could even go out and just buy a domain name now, even if you're not planning to use it. That's always a good strategy, just to save it, like save your name or save some idea of a name that you have later on. So those would be my suggestions in terms of platforms and technology of a blog. Do you want some ideas more how to come up with content, or do you think that part's good? You've all got enough techie content out there.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone here has the same amount. Go ahead, Mary.
Well, I was going to say my thought, I would think that maybe content isn't necessarily so difficult sometimes, right? To me, at least, I really do think it is the give me the site of where I go on. And now if I decide I'm going to do the theme, what are some great YouTube videos where I can teach myself how to, you know what I mean? Because that was, I think, where I got stuck. So for me personally, and I may be totally off, right, that's where I think that's a really valuable in okay, I've got enough content, I want to get started. How do I, WordPress.com, great, now I'm here. Sign me up, great, I'm signing up. But what am I signing up for? Oh, now I've got too many options and I need help, right? So that's kind of, so I'm sure maybe I haven't gotten a chance to look at Steve's site yet, but anyway, so to me, I think that's kind of some of the help that's where to get started on that's really helpful.
Right, and I'll just kind of give a little bit of a background how I got started. When I first started blogging, it was through my company's webpage. So if you wanted to see a blog from me, you had to go to Mount Evans Consulting LLC.com. And when I started the journey for becoming an MVP, one of the recommendations Steve Indo gave me was to actually move my blog to my own URL. So instead of blogging on my company's website, his suggestion was to blog on my personal blogger website. So I did move everything off. So I guess, you know, how to get started, just make sure that you're trying to decide, am I blogging for my company or am I doing this for myself? Am I doing this for my own personal brand? Because I feel like I had like a good 19 or 20 blogs out there, and then I ended up moving them over to my personal blog as well, and I kept them up on both websites, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but both websites get quite a few hits per week still, just because some of those blogs are on both. So keep that in mind too. I see in the chat here, everyone is saying, you know, you got Belinda and Carrie saying, you know, don't blog through your company website, blog through your personal website. And when you're looking for a URL, Carrie did say, you know, use your name if it's available, because again, you're building your personal brand as well. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, if you're going to submit this for your MVP, like if you are trying to become an MVP eventually, what you do for your company, what you get paid for does not count. So your paid work. So if your company is paying you to write blogs, that doesn't count. So that's why it's always important to put that in your personal brand, if that's your method that you're going. And if your company wants to share it, that's great. But you're going to want to put that, you know, underneath your work, I guess is a good way to put it. So yeah, that's really helpful. And it looks like Anya submitted some sites in the chat on how to get started as well, which is great. So once you get started, and then I just have to reply to Belinda's comment, MVPs are nuts. Yeah, so just so everybody knows, everything we do as MVPs, it's volunteer work. So blogging, these kind of webinars, all of those kind of things, those are all, you know, out of our own pocket, out of our own time. So it is commitment. When people, you know, contact me to apply, I'm like, it's a very free volunteer thing, but it's really fun. I love it. So promoting your blog. So you get your blog started, you have some ideas. Anya, what do you do to kind of promote your blog? Where do you go from there?
Right, because you want people to read it, right? So of course, right, promoting it within your channel, the people that are on this call, the people that are in the different communities, whether that be the old GPUG, whatever they call it now, or D365, all the different groups and summits and different things that are out there, putting it on your LinkedIn profile. If you're active with social media, then a really good tool that you can use, which they have a free version for as well, I'll put in the chat, is called missingletter.com. And basically what you do is attach it, you just connect it to your blog, and it will automatically pull out little snippets to use as social media posts, and then schedule them for you. And of course, you can go in and read them first to make sure that they look fine. But then you just click, and they're scheduled out for you. And so that takes a lot of the work away from having to go through your post and put it on Twitter, put it on LinkedIn. You know, each blog post you write, if you can make a goal of, okay, let me do at least, 5 tweets or 5 LinkedIn posts to promote this content. You know, again, your content, if it's super technical, then that obviously is going for a different audience, and there's places that you can promote that as well. Doing guest posting, and then on other people's blogs, like if you could say, hey, Kristen, I just started my blog, could I guest post on yours if you approve the article, and then link back to your site. So the way to build the strength of your blog is going to be backlinks in a lot of ways. So if you can get a backlink from Microsoft.com or any really high domain authority site like that, it's gold, and it's really going to raise the rankings of your blog to be seen by more people in search. So you know, if there's any way to put it like on appsource.com or anything like that that has high traffic, it's gonna really benefit you. You know, and one point I thought,
really good.
Just gonna say one thing I thought about is that, you know, a lot of your posts as technical consultants are going to be very labor intensive because you put in screenshots and you have directions and you have to check everything. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with kind of interspersing those with some that are a little bit easier and give your voice a little bit, right? So maybe you go to an event and you say, hey, I really liked that session. I'm going to do just a quick little recap of that session or recap of that event, or talk about some client pain points. Maybe you don't name the client, but you just say, hey, worked with a manufacturing company and, you know, I saw them struggling with X, Y, and Z. So those are things that you could potentially, again, record yourself, get them out quicker, faster, and it would keep your blog fresh in between those really deep how-to, you know, build reports in BI or whatever you're thinking of doing.
Yeah, that's great. And
interviews are great
really
too.
Hard. So we have a lot of questions coming in. So I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit. So someone has a question about how do you determine what your brand's going to be, your brand or your theme of your blog?
Gosh, that's a really good idea. Or a good question, I was going to say. I don't know, because once you kind of pick it, sometimes you're stuck with it for a while, right? So maybe Belinda wants to chime in. You know, how did you pick the CSI, and then I know you dropped that.
Yeah, we should have the queen of blogging, Belinda, talk.
Yeah.
Belinda?
Yeah, so you have to think about basically what you're passionate about. And if you're not passionate about it, then blogging on it is not, then you might as well not be planning to blog on it, except for maybe work blogs. So for me now, so I kind of fell into the trap. My original blog name was product related, and then Microsoft moved me into a different product, and I happily went. So I have this old blog, Belinda the GPCSI, which was a nickname that people in my company called me because I could figure out why somebody did something completely stupid. And so I kind of like talked about that, but now I have this niche. I put it in the chat. Seth Godin's one of my favorite marketing gurus, and he said, be remarkably specific. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Power BI for the SMB ERP space. And so that's what I'm passionate about. And that's who I focus toward. So my brand is all about that. Not to say it doesn't capture other people that are interested in Power BI, but those are the people I try to write to or video to that specific person. So that's what I'm passionate about. That's how my brand came to be.
Yeah, and I also think it's a little bit about like, what is your expertise, or what do you feel like you personally could share with, you know, the community? So what do you know well enough that you could write, you know, hundreds of blog posts about? But if you know a lot about different topics like Belinda, then you have to choose something a little bit more specific so you're not all over the place.
Well,
I know several
hundreds. I don't know that many, but blog doesn't have to be exactly what you know about. It could be your learning journey.
But I know you know a lot, Belinda. You had to pick one topic. So,
but it could be your learning journey. right? Take people on the journey with
Yeah.
you. Somebody else is likely learning it at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good point. And really it's like there's so much like new products out there, especially like it doesn't matter what tech space you're joining us from on this call, if you're in tech or you're teaching or whatever the case may be. There's so much new technology coming out that there's just nothing written about it yet. So I typically will find blogs where there's just not anything about it yet. So if I search Google or I search, Edge, and there's nothing coming up, I'm like, okay, that would be a good blog post because no one else has done it. And those typically will get really good hits, especially if people are, looking for that. But it's you do want to start your brand too, because you kind of want to build your blog around it, so that's, something I recommend is trying to figure out which route you're going to go. And it took me a while just to get to that point, and then I wasn't so nervous about it. So someone else has a question. Christina has a question for you, Anya. How many posts should you have before you start promoting your blog? So should you start at one? Should you have a few? What would you suggest to everybody?
I would, I don't think it's a hard and fast rule, but I would say aim for at least 10 that you have in there so that when you get people visiting your site, they have something to read. They get a little bit of a sense of what your style is, what you're writing about. So, you can post those over a bit of time and then yeah, start promoting it or collect those and then put them all at once on your blog, either way.
Yeah, that's really good. I do have a helpful hint from Steve Endo, who helped me start blogging. He did mention that when you're promoting your blog on Twitter, to always take a picture of like something from that page that you're trying to post to, because Twitter doesn't always do a page preview. So like if you just say, go check out my blog, it would just look like a regular tweet. So to have a picture to kind of, show what you're tweeting about. If you do it on LinkedIn, it does like a page preview, but it won't do that on Twitter. And I didn't think about that. And the second time I did it, he made me take it down and redo it. So I learned, but it's kind of like learning how to promote it also on LinkedIn and Twitter. Every time you do a blog post is really important, because then a lot of people can get out there and see it. Kristen, what are you doing to kind of promote your blog?
Obviously I have links on like Twitter and LinkedIn. And then when I actually post or publish a blog, I'm posting, an announcement to both LinkedIn and Twitter as well, with a link back. And then I'm kind of doing like a in case you missed it type tweet as well, like a week after it's been published as well, just to kind of, in case someone missed it that first round, then they can see it there as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Anya, Cynthia has a question on, is there different content link suggestions for blogs when they are technical versus not technical? Is there any kind of suggestions on, how long you should make your blog post, or how short, or what draws attention versus what doesn't? That's a really good point.
Yeah, so there's different opinions out there about what Google likes. Everybody's trying to figure out what is Google like, because it's the judge, jury, executioner when it comes to search engine results. So there are people that say that longer posts, over 1,000 words, are picked up more. I will say that I definitely have had success with shorter posts as well. I would say minimum, around 300 words or so, which is not even a full page. So it's not that much. But if you've got a lot of screenshots in there, you do want to make sure you have enough text. So I would say, if you aim for around 500 words, you're going to be in good shape.
Okay. I have a question for you, and I didn't put it out here in chat, but how I know people can get paid to do blogging, with Google ads and all of that kind of stuff. So if those people who are out here blogging and they get enough blogs, what is your suggestion for getting paid, and when should you start advertising on your blog?
I don't have a lot of I don't have actually any experience with like Google ads or pay-per-click ads on your site, because I haven't made money that way blogging. But there's a good article I'll put in the chat you can read, and I think that's something you could look up pretty easily. But I would say beyond like the click money, which, you know, I would say be careful on, right? Because a lot of people come to a blog, they get kind of annoyed when there's lots of these ads everywhere that are in between the content. So some other things you could think about if your blog starts to get large enough is sponsorship, advertising from, say, ISVs, right? If you're in the channel and you start reviewing tools, you could have affiliate links. So affiliate links, you know, banner ads, those type of things, hosting a webinar with someone. It's almost using your blog as the platform to become the influencer, the person that people want to have promote their product. Can open a lot of doors. It can get you free passes to events, speaking, you know, different things like that. So I guess those are, you could look at the like Google click ads, and you could also kind of think of these other bigger ways that you could interact with the community in a nice way, but get some money there.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think, I can't remember who had this comment, but Chad had the comment, like, it's really, he likes blogs where there's a little bit of lightness to a lot of bit of heaviness. I know the technical writers, sometimes you go into a technical blog, it's just all technical. I'll put some light posts on mine every once in a while, like a post about an event or something that's happening in the channel or something like that, just to kind of, to keep it light, you know, because sometimes it just can be a little bit too much. Does anyone here post events on their blog? I thought that I should start doing that in places where I'm going to be presenting. Anyone else do that on their blog?
Yeah, I've done that in the past for Dynamics Con and Community Summit. And Dynamics Con, for example, that's like top 4 views on my blog, you know. So I think that's a good way to kind of get people to know that you're going to a conference, what your sessions are, and then you know, doing recaps too, like Anya was mentioning about sessions you went to, and just giving your feedback, because that then is going to link, you know, your reader to possibly, you know, joining a user group or attending these conferences later on too, which is helpful, right? We're all in this community to help each other, and we're not trying to hold any of the information we learn, right? We want everybody to be on, you know, the same playing field per se, as we are when it comes to getting information and learning. So, yep.
Yeah. What about you, Mary? Anything on your future speaking events or engagements you're posting on your blog?
I sure need to. You know, I'm really glad that we're having this conversation, because apparently I've got some great sites and I'm going to put a little money into it. I wanted to share my site. So this is how not proud I am of my website. I don't know my blog like URL. I was like trying to like sign on to WordPress to see if I could get it. I don't know. It's not saved on this computer. Hopefully I got it somewhere. I've lost everything I've done. I literally don't even have it on my Twitter because it gives me such anxiety about how unperfect it is. So that's how much, you know, current promoting I'm doing of my blog. I do like my YouTube. I think I have that on my Twitter, right? That's, again, just a little bit more of my space. So I think that's kind of fun to note as well, right? Like you can have a different type of blog thing, but it should still kind of be the same. But I definitely want to get back into writing, and now I finally have the tools. So I think I'm kind of one of those scenarios, right? I've been blogging for about two and a half years. I struggled. It's ugly, but it kind of works. Yep, I have her site. Gonna go check her out. I saw her nice little templates. I'm like, perfect. That's what I'm doing. You know, and kind of get back out there because it is super important. There is a lot of conversations to go through, and it was like they were saying earlier, like you teach yourself. There's different things. There's certain videos that I go back to. Carries I share every time that we get somebody new. Part of my onboarding experience with them is, and now you can go learn how to do account schedules. Here's this amazing blog that you need to check out. I need some help with account schedules. Newbies, can somebody please go check out this website and see where Carrie tells us how to fix it? You know, So I want to be that, right? Like I have those aspirations. I want to be Carrie. I want to be Belinda. I want to be Kristen is another one, right? The other day, first when I look up, hers is right there. All the time in several presentations, I'm using Shannon's. Shannon's, one of my favorite blogs that she did was the lightest one ever, and it talks about the growth in Business Central and about how it's about to like outsell like NetSuite and Sage. And it's one of the most powerful selling tools I have, right? So my blog sucks, but let me share with you all these experiences, right? Where this blog is really helpful and really powerful in so many different ways. So yeah, I think I need to chalk up a few bucks and get myself on the same playing field.
That's really awesome.
Shannon,
Yeah,
Shannon, I don't think I finished the answer to your last question that someone had about content. She may have been asking, how do you actually write it so that it sounds good, maybe? But I would say one thing to think about is to focus on your title. Most people don't spend enough time on the title, and that is something that you want to think about. How can, if somebody only sees the title and nothing else, will they want to click on it? Will they know immediately what it's about, who should read it, what they're going to learn? You know, think of like the grocery store, just the titles that are on the, you know, Inquirer magazine or whatever that's there. Does it kind of grab you in? So you want to try to put keywords in there that the search engines are going to like, but you also need to make it engaging for people. Sometimes.
So I want to add something to that. I do all of my blogging through NewView Strategies, and I'm okay with that. At this stage in my life, anything I can do, you know, being on NewView Strategies is fine with me. But I do understand the point about, you know, doing your own personal. But I do have a personal brand within the NewView Strategies team. And one of the other things that I have a tendency to do, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, is I try to inject a little bit of humor or color, if you would, even though it's a technical thing. And I will tell you, it has saved us a couple times. I've found my blogs being reused, I'm using a nice word, on other people's sites. And, you know, down at the bottom, they'll say, you know, Cynthia Preby or whatever. I'm like, no, this is not right. And I found them because my titles are unique. You know, it's not just, oh, how to do EFT in Business Central. It's stop writing those checks. You know, and then I say EFT in Business Central, so you're still getting your keywords and what have you. But I will tell you, I think that that has helped a lot. And I think people can find them more quickly and readily again when they're searching for them if they haven't marked them.
That's a really good point. I've had people contact me and ask me if they can like share my blog, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine as long as, you know, you reference back to my blog site. I do a lot of sales and marketing things that are pretty Microsoft generic, but as long as they give me credit, I don't care. But if they're taking my stuff,
this was no credit. This was taking,
yeah, and not asking you is not good either. So Anya, looks like Anya's put a copyscape.com URL in this chat where you can go and see if anyone's plagiarizing you, which that's kind of nice. I might do that tonight. So hashtags are important, and I've been trying to get better at it, that every time I do post a blog post that I'm putting hashtags, you know, on my blog post, so that if anyone searches, you know, Dynamics or Dynamics BC, they're actually landing on that, because I think that that's, Anya, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's what Google and these other web engines use to kind of drive the topics as well. Is that helpful? Does that help drive any kind of audience?
On social media, it does. You know, like LinkedIn will look at the first 3 hashtags. I mean, their algorithm or whatever looks at the first 3 hashtags to kind of get an idea what it's about. And people follow hashtags. Tags on a blog, somewhat useful. It's more about how to categorize it on your site than it is for Google. I think for Google, it's more about the keywords in your title, in your headline, in the body of your text. Also, the meta description on your blog, if you want to get, you know, super fancy in there, is if you use a plugin like Yoast or something like that on your blog that lets you set the meta description, which is basically the few sentences that Google will show underneath the title in a search result. So it's really important to kind of craft that so that it has a complete thought, nice keywords, something that makes people want to click.
Yeah, I had never heard of that before, so that's new. That's very new to me, so I'll have to check that out. Chad is wondering, do we need a robot.txt file for crawlers? Which I don't know what that means, Chad. Anya, do you know?
That's a little too technical for me, but okay. I do know that you can submit your pages to Google to be re-indexed faster. You know, if you write a blog post and you're anxious for it to be crawled right away, you can, in Google Search Console, which is something you attach to Google Analytics if you want to get fancy, you can ask them to re-index your post. But I mean, they're gonna do it anyway. One tip I would give as well is to keep an inventory list of your blogs. So especially when you start getting into high numbers, just keeping a simple Excel spreadsheet with the title and then maybe a few tags like keywords about what it's about, so you know. Because for example, what if you're blogging about an add-on product that no longer exists or has been absorbed into the product, and maybe you want to go back and edit those blog posts, re-optimize them, refresh them so that the content is fresh, or you know, you're talking about some fixed fee pricing that no longer exists. So just having an inventory list so that you can quickly go back and say, okay, here's the 5 posts I wrote about this feature, and you can edit them, can be very helpful. Because old
that's really good. And if you guys apply to become an MVP, or that's why you're interested in doing this, you can use that same spreadsheet for your contributions. So that's good too. I never thought about keeping an inventory. That's actually probably a good idea. I like that. It looks like Mary has put a link to some help with Google Analytics, which is really good in SEO. I know everyone's wanting to drive SEO, and I'm not an SEO expert. But I think, you know, that is important to kind of understand, like if you are trying to drive a lot of traffic, how do you do that and get up in the topic? But that was a great point on just seeing what your first 2 sentences underneath your blog will say. I need to look that up and see what Google's actually showing under mine. I haven't done anything. I'm like the basic blogger.
So Google will automatically just choose the first 2 lines of your post, but sometimes that's kind of introductory, doesn't really, you know, have the meaty stuff in there. So it's better if you can pull your own text that really nails down the main theme of the post.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. That's really, really good, you know, advice. Any other questions anybody has? I know this has been a great conversation, and we still have about 10 minutes left before our end time, or we can wrap it up early. But any other questions from the audience, or anyone want to come off mute and ask a question?
I'll ask a question here. So, and I think I'm sorry, Cynthia, I think I just spoke over someone.
No, I can wait until you're done.
Okay. I was just going to say, you know, a little bit about like the voice of that blog, right? So I think that, you know, or I guess my question would be, what are some of your thoughts and opinions on that? Like, should it be like, if I'm doing a technical blog, should it be super professional and techie, or should it be like most of my PowerPoint or like most of my presentations where I've got probably a lot more personality than technical content, but which is what I feel like makes me, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's always better to do it in your own voice, what makes you you. I mean, that's going to be the most genuine. It's when you meet people, they're going to associate you with that voice. You know, if you have a super stuffy, formal voice on your blog and they meet you and you're this vivacious, you know, bubbly person, it's a disconnect. So I think if you have the ability to write in that way, people will enjoy reading that. So stick to what's true to you. I mean, if you are a more subdued, serious person, then don't try to be a comedian in your posts, and if it's not natural either. So you know, it's really about you, and the people that want that content, you know, are gonna figure out what's the right which ones they want. And honestly, if you've got awesome technical content, they probably don't even care. It's, you know, they're going to your blogs to look for the how-tos, and they don't care if you made a joke or not. But for you, it'll be a lot more fun if you stick to your own voice as well.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
and I
kind
like
of
blogging because I can use my own voice, where I can't usually do that in a work setting. You know, if you would use your own voice, whoever's, you know, editing your blog will rewrite it to be totally professional and sound, you know, techy.
Depends on the
So I
group.
feel like personal blogging is a lot more fun to me personally. So
Mhm.
probably
So
depends on your company.
I wanted to share something. I happen to follow blogging, and I'll just go ahead and say it in this group. I like looking at fashion over 50. Okay. And even though I'm sitting in front of the camera all the time, I just worry about fashion over 50 above here, right? So they're recently doing this like Friday with Friends or these different things, and they literally have, and it's in addition to their normal posts. And originally it started out with, you know, hey, the four of us took on this challenge to say, what should you wear to a wedding? And they did their whole post, and they said, no, don't forget to check out so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so's post on the same topic. So it caused me to go to those other people. So now I'm following those bloggers. Now they're doing stuff on Instagram. They're getting together on Fridays, and they'll forum, and I can't watch it, it's terrible, but the four of them are getting together and they're chit-chatting about some sort of subject. But again, now I'm going to someone else's, and if she does the same thing, maybe she does 2 for Tuesdays, and she puts another blogger, I am then adding that blogger to my content, so, or, you know, to what I'm following. So we've got this group of women MVPs, and we've got people who want to be MVPs. Wouldn't it be great to have collaboration like that, where you have certain people that you kind of work together on similar topics?
So there's a
That's a
name for
great thing.
called like a social media pod, and it would be, you know, you get a little group of people that you all agree to share each other's content, and if you can do it, the quicker you can do it, the better. So I don't know if, little side note here is that on LinkedIn, the first hour is like the golden hour. So the more likes, comments that you get in that first hour dramatically affects how much it's shared. So, you know, if you have this group of 5 or 6 people that you can say, hey, just posted this, could you go out and like it? Could you go out and make a quick comment? It can really do a lot to boost your results. You could also interview each other. Interviews are a great way to kind of get other people to share your content as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know I'm very supportive of my fellow MVP women. If they post something, I try to repost it and share it, because I don't really feel like we're competitive with each other. We're just sharing our knowledge, you know, and it's kind of fun to just share. And I learned something from Kristen's blogs and Mary's videos and stuff I don't know. I have no time to research it, so it's kind of fun to learn too. That's a great point, Cynthia. Like, try to support each other, and I know everyone in this group will help share your stuff if, you know, if you send it over. So that's awesome. Anybody else have any questions?
I don't have a question. I just kind of wanted to piggyback off that great kind of sentiment, because, you know, it also just makes people feel so good, right? Like when your fellow people like acknowledge, you know, that they shared your content or that they thought it was good. Like, it just makes you feel like the people that you know, respect and look up to, all of a sudden it's like, oh, they thought mine was good too, you know? And I think that's like Cynthia and Chris, you know, Shannon have said, like, that's what we're here for, right? To kind of to rise by lifting others. So I love that you shared that idea.
Yeah, that's really great. It's fabulous. I love it.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up, and Anya, maybe you have a perspective into this, is you know, through the Twitter community lately, I've been seeing a lot of people say that definitely LinkedIn has become more of a social network rather than professional. So what they're finding is that when they're posting their blogs or like their YouTube videos, they're getting more interaction with the readers actually within YouTube, within the comment section. So do you have any thoughts on that?
You know, I personally see a lot of business value in LinkedIn. And I haven't always felt that way, but this year especially, I've been putting a bigger emphasis on LinkedIn, did some LinkedIn training with a really good gal. So for me personally, I feel like LinkedIn actually has more value for me than Twitter, but YouTube, that's relatively new to me. I don't do a lot of videos, but I would say that from a marketing perspective, most people do not optimize their YouTube videos at all. And there's such a huge potential to drive those up in search rankings and to optimize them with just little tweaks, like put your URL right at the beginning of the description and make sure you add the HTTPS so it's a live URL. Put a real description, like a keyword rich description in that area of YouTube. You know, most people just put like a line or two and that's it, but put some text. And then also calls to action to kind of make people go to the next step, whatever that may be. Go to your blog, go, you know, sign up for a demo, whatever it may be. And you can also get into YouTube ads. There's all kinds of things you can do with YouTube. But in terms of engagement, that's an interesting point, Kristen, that I haven't heard people say that, but it's pretty cool.
I've seen more comments recently. I've got some videos out there. I've seen more comments. I had somebody kind of go back and forth on like one of the videos that I had, and it was kind of different. You know what I mean? We're used to seeing that like forum and like the forum, and at first I thought the guy was like arguing with me and like being like, no, you're wrong. I'm like, buddy, I made this video. Don't tell me I'm wrong, you know. But then I realized, right, it was like you're saying, it was just like this conversation, this engagement that I wasn't quite expecting. So I thought I've seen it, not quite sure exactly how to harness it, what all to do with it. It's interesting because and I've had to take such a break from all media platforms, so concentrated on work lately. But then like I'll go in and be like, oh man, somebody said something to me 2 weeks ago. It would have been great if I would have responded on like a timely basis. Let me come back now, right? So I don't know anything about it, but I've seen it and feel like I should figure it out.
Oh, you just brought up a really interesting point too. When someone does put in a comment or asks a question, that's also a nice jump for additional content. You know, where somebody has said, well, what about this? And you're like, oh, you know, I didn't think about that. So then you can piggyback that blog post, reference the other blog post, you know, and get some of this cross traffic, if you would. So I think that's another good outcome of those comments.
And definitely transcribe your videos and make them into blog posts so that you have them on YouTube, but then you also have the full text. All you have to do is embed the video on the top, put the transcription on the bottom, and you're done. You've got a blog post. You've got all those nice keywords in there. That can save you a lot of time.
I love it. This has been such great help today. So many amazing tidbits.
Excellent.
Right. Do we have any other questions? I know we're right on time here, but we can stick around a couple more minutes if we have some unanswered questions from the group. All right. Well, I see in the chat here, the group is asking for a WhatsApp group. So I will get that set up today, and then we'll get that on our Meet page so that everybody can join that as well. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining today. Great conversation. If you joined later, you want to share this with anyone, we will have this uploaded to our YouTube page sometime tomorrow, so you'll be able to go out there and rewatch it or share it out.
Very good. Nice to be here. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
It was great to see you, Anya.
Hi, Belinda. Nice to see you.